this podcast, because it's something that I come up with, run into a lot when I'm trying to do a lot of business deals. Then don't get it twisted. I'm not Donald Trump out here making business deals. I only made a couple. But, you know what I'm saying, I'm a young tiger in the game, and I like to pay attention to personality traits and things like that. So when I get into the cash over assets discussion, what I'm really trying to make you understand is, one, figure out what kind of cat you are. Two, assess what kind of cat is across the table from you. And three, find your own ending point. All right, and let me go into it. When I tell you to figure out what kind of cat you are, when I think about business, I think about an empire. An empire has to be built through assets. It has to be built on cash, because cash enables you to buy the assets. But I think primarily in terms of assets. So let me give you a good example. Okay, let's say a scenario between me and someone else. Let's say we're going to buy houses. Okay, we're going to buy houses at $5,000 a pop, and we're sitting down talking about it. And the cash guy, because there's always a cash guy and there's an asset guy. In this scenario, I'm going to talk from the cash perspective. The cash guy says, "Yo, Freeman, we can get 10 of these houses for 50 G's, right? We can fix them up, we can rent them out, and when the market come up, you know what I'm saying, Freeman, we can flip these houses and get out of there. You know what I'm saying? We can sell all of them and just take all the cash. We only put $5,000 into it. Let's say we put another $3,000 to get them up and running, so we have an $80,000 investment. But when the market turn around, you know what I'm saying, we can get out of there ASAP and get our chips back. So if the house was worth 5 and it went up to 10, or if the house was worth 5 and it went up to 15, then let's just get out, because we made 3 times our initial investment." Cool. That's the cash man. Now the asset guy, Freeman, coming to the table to talk about the asset. Same scenario. 10 houses, $5,000 a pop, 50 grand. $3,000 to bring them up each house, right? 80 grand. So we have the same 80 grand, and I sit back and say, "Yo, check this out. When we go and buy these houses, we're already going to get $1,000 rent from them, right? So every month, we got 10 houses. That's 10 G's a month we're making. And if the housing market ever rebounds the way it, probably never go back to the way it was, but if it goes back to what it was in 2001 before the boom, you know what I'm saying, those houses were worth 50 grand. So I'm sitting there thinking, look, we already making money. We already got chips coming in from rent. Why would we sell our assets? Why wouldn't we just hold on to them? If we wanted to take equity out the house, we could, because the bank obviously see that the market went up, and we can go and take 10, 20 grand out of each house if we wanted to do something with it. If we wanted to go ahead and do something. So as you can see, I'm much more of an asset person, because I didn't want to get rid of my initial assets. I just wanted to take the equity out of the assets to buy more assets. The first cat, who's a cash cat, will go in there and try to take all his money. He wants his money off the table. All right? And this is the difference. This is what I'm trying to tell you with the COA, or the cash or assets. Decide what kind of cat you are when you come into this game. When you really start talking about making money, you need to understand what kind of person you really are when it comes to business. This is a true difference in business philosophy. Okay? Let's look at some of the businesses that are pure cash businesses, so you understand their philosophy. A pure cash business is usually anyone with the name broker on the end. Is usually a cash business. But let's go into it. Most of your cats who come from the bottom are going to be cash, because dope dealing or anything from street angle is cash. None of them you never see anybody build something out of their hustle. Even your cat, let's say your homie that's a barber, right? That is a 100% cash business, right? So that's understood. He comes into it, he's going to make cash. He walks home with cash in his pocket. Your beauty salons, your catering trucks are all cash, right? Now, what is the problem with cash? Nothing at all is wrong with cash. But cash does not necessarily build on cash unless you put it in maybe even the stock markets, because those cats are another set of brokers, and they are cash. All I'm saying with the cash-oriented cats is that they don't have any true assets. Okay? And what happens when you don't have any true assets is you have to go from hustle to hustle, thing to thing, trying to find a new way to make more money. Okay? It's always great to have cash. Not knocking people who have cash. It's always great to have it. But it is to me, on my end. Now, I don't want you. Of course, this is your boy Freeman. I'm speaking to you from my angle in life. It don't mean that you can't be a cash-oriented cat. I'm just saying, to me, you have to recognize that this is the type of person you are, so you can structure your deals in such a way, and you can talk to people in a way that lets them know I'm in and out, partner. I'm not trying to be, Rupert Murdoch and on Fox. I'm trying to put on one show, get my money, be the executive producer, and get out and come back next week with another show. You understand what I mean? Now let's get into the asset-oriented cat. I can speak from that because that's what I do. When I started the business, I had a partner in the game, right? He was when we first started, I said, look, if you help me with this business, I'll give you half of the business. We can go 50-50, right? But the cat said, nah, I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? I just want the money. I don't want the responsibility. So I'm like, cool. So at the end of the day, no more partner. I run the game 100%, right? But I held on to the asset. And the asset is usually something you have to understand is a thing that generates money, right? Anybody who's operating from a cash point of view is almost acting like a salesman on commission. They don't want to demean their hustle that way, but that's the way they think about money. I just want to get in, I want to set up a deal, I want to make my money off the top, and I want to get out. You understand what I mean? I want to hold on to the property long enough for the market to turn around, then I'm out. But an asset-driven cat, let me give you a good example. We're going to go into, pick a city. Let's go to Little Rock, right? And we're going to buy the poor neighborhood. Right? We're going to buy the ghetto, as people like to call it. And the cat will say, I have my investment group, my collective. Shout out to Arthur Pledger for bringing that up. My collective of cats who are coming together to make something. I'm going to go in there in Little Rock and we're going to buy the worst part of Little Rock. But I come along with a plan that says, hey, let's check this out. Do this. We're going to buy this whole strip of land for 50 G's, but we own the block. And the city's giving us all kind of kickbacks. So what we're going to do with this block is, first we're going to put up a fast food place. Then we're going to put up a daycare center. Then we're going to put up a laundromat. Then we're going to put up probably a family restaurant. Then we're going to put up maybe even a bowling alley. Then we're going to put up something like this, right? So if I had this collective of brothers sitting there with me, 3 or 4 other brothers who put their cash on the line and said, let's do this, right? You have to look at the other cats that are on the thing and say, where's their buyout point? Because me, I'm riding all the way to the end. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to understand what an asset-driven person really is. He's looking, I'm looking at what this will do forever. Not just today, forever. It's a longer view on chips. And that's why when people, they pockets on slim and they short on their dough, they don't think that way. When you see people who are flipping houses, they're not thinking in that same fashion. They're not thinking that they can own all the land over here and rent it out forever. They're not thinking that. So going back to the Little Rock example, we own the worst part of Little Rock. Let's say cat number 1, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to give them no name. We're just going to call them number 1, 2, and 3. Cat number 1 says, yo, Freeman, if we get to this point, if you turn this area around, man, we only bought it for 50 G's. It's going to turn to 100. After we get to 150 G's, I want to get out, man. That's 3 times the initial dough I put into the hustle. And I'm cool, at least I know where this cat going to get out. 2, cat number 2 come along and say, yo, Freeman, look, you know what I'm saying? I'm short. I need my money out right now. So if we turn this into anything, I want to, I'll take, I put in 10 G's or whatever. I just want 11 out of it. I got to get out of it, right? I need cash in my pocket right now. Cat number 3, he comes along and says, Freeman, I'm going to ride to you with you as long as you possibly want. But come on, man, at some point there's a price that you're willing to sell at. There's a price that you're willing to get rid of all that you built for the sake of the chips. You know what I'm saying? Even Bob Johnson at BET sold BET for a bill. You know what I'm saying? He got a bill ticket out of the whole thing. Why wouldn't you even at least entertain the idea, Freeman. No one's saying you want to do this, but entertain the idea. So of course, to get back to your boy Freeman, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm riding to the end. You know what I'm saying? Empires are not built by getting rid of their assets. Empires are built by acquiring assets. So you're asking yourself, which cat are you, homie? That's what I want you to understand. Are you cat number 1, cat number 2, cat number 3, or you like your boy Freeman? You dig? You gotta figure out which one you are. I'm a completely asset-driven person. I build websites and things and leave them up there, and I have cats who come along and say, Freeman, you're not making as much money as you should be making. You shouldn't have did it in the first place. But they don't understand that, there's a long, chips are long. They take a long time to develop. And once you got it, you got it. You know what I'm saying? A restaurant takes forever for it to become popular, but sooner or later it turns into Bob Big Boys or Shoney's or something like that, and people just go to it out of habit. Applebee's. But in the beginning, it was Freeman's Pork Chops. No, I'm not going to put no pork chops on there, but Freeman's restaurant. So someone has to be asset driven. And the main reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to understand that in the beginning, okay, if you don't control your emotions of trying to reap everything you do, you're going to miss out on some big opportunities. And also for the cat who has a long view, just like me, sometimes we miss out on the fact that we could have doubled our stuff right now. It's like that saying, a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm counting on the future to do something, and it might not ever, manifest. But the other cat with the cash, it manifested for him. What I really want you to sit back and absorb with this whole analogy of the cash or the assets is, it's an emotional thing when cats really want a lot of cash on hand, and this is the reason why I want to tell you that. If you took a long-term view of your hustle, a long-term view of your life, you know what I'm saying? When they sit down with you at a financial planner, when they hustle you at a financial planner, let me put it that way. When they hustle you or con you at a financial planner, guess what they actually do? How much money do you want to make in the end? How much money do you want to make per month? And then they set up you a 20-year or something plan for you to have that money at the end of the thing. That is an asset-driven thinking mentality, right? What do I have to acquire that will yield me the amount of money I need for the rest of my life, right? So for some people, it's cash. They're not paying attention to the future, right? And they have a lot of cash. I have no problem with cats accumulating cash. I've just never seen a person with cash actually be wealthy toward the end without some kind of apparatus that produce cash. A record label. Let's get a good example. Let's go into the record industry. Let's go into the music industry. When a lot of these young cats who are rappers get put on, somebody give them a sucker deal. Here go 50 grand up front. When 50 Cent got signed, remember he said, I got $1 million before I made a record. You understand what I mean? Because they gave him all this cash up front, but Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine over at Interscope are making way more money off 50 Cent because he didn't understand his own value. He didn't understand the asset that he did, the music that he created. He doesn't own the masters to it. Let me give you a better example with the music. Before Michael Jackson died, he owns the Beatles catalog, right? Now, the Beatles catalog is an asset, right? So he put it on that new Rockstar video game from Activision. Now the people get to act like they're the Beatles. But guess who gets the money? You think Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr and all them cats get it? They don't get not one dime. Michael Jackson, or his estate now, gets all the money because he has an asset. And this is why I want you to say, I know you're all agreeing with me. Freeman, I'm an asset-driven person. I mean, I understand what you're saying. But no. This is why I'm telling you this, is because this is the reason why when you look around, no one can build. Why there's no consensus, why there's no collective agreement between a couple of cats. Because most cats are not asset-driven people. Most cats are cash-driven people. This is why they sell their idea to Google, and Google is an asset, right? This is why they sell their program to Microsoft, because Microsoft is an asset. It holds and retains and creates money, right? The other cats got cash and they paid out and they never hear from them again, right? And you hear most cats coming from the bottom. I'm a bottom-up cat too myself, so I hear it every day, where cats say, man, if I got $1 million, I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? I'm done. But you know what I'm saying? The question you have to ask yourself is, would you rather trade away $1 million today for the possibility of $100 million tomorrow? You might make $100 million over the next 10, 15 years, but do you need $1 million that much? This is the biggest thing I can ever prepare you for going forward in business, because this is the hustle. This is the idea you need to. When you sit down from a group of cats and you're gonna run into them, and everybody want to make money. We all want to make money. I'm with you 100%. I'm trying to hear the angle at which these cats normally go about getting their chips. If you're dealing with someone who's extra flamboyant, you're looking at a cash cat. If you're looking at a cat who is really laid back, and this is just a personality, they don't have to necessarily tie into laid back, flamboyant, everything else, but some people understand cash, and they usually are very calm about it. They understand how to make money, and they're calm about it. They see it as making moves. You know what I mean? But some cats are in there, they strictly want to get their cash and they want to be out. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong. I run a cash-oriented business. I don't want you to think that I don't. It's just that my cash-oriented business has yielded me enough cash. I have an asset, which is not a true asset, okay? I don't own property that is making me have rent. I own a company that is linked into a certain area of business backed up by the government that is practically untouchable. So me being in this position is really the asset. But really what I do is a cash-oriented business. So I take the cash and I go look for other opportunities. And as I progress as a young man into this game, I'm trying to figure out, name a cash business that is really one of your juggernauts. Now, some of you cats are going to come up with like Goldman Sachs and things like that, but this is cash on cash. These cats are making cash from cash. And your insurance companies, Geico and everything, they have no true assets. What does Geico own? Right? They provide policies that you pay out, that they receive cash for, and if you ever get in a car accident, that's why they give you a hard time trying to fix your car, because they don't want to pay out. The whole hustle is to make you pay and then never use it at all. They want to, but they're going with the healthcare thing. Don't get mad at the healthcare company. They're running the same cash hustle. Okay? If you could, you would only give insurance to people who don't need it. If you were the bank, you only give money to people who don't need it, right? Because they don't need it, so you can always take it back from them, no problem, right? They don't need it, so it's good. It's a good investment. You only give. Geico prefers to give people who won't get into a car accident insurance. Otherwise, they raise your premiums. If you become a higher risk, they raise your premium, and this is all because they want to prepare themselves and reap more cash. This is the only couple of cash businesses, and as you can see, they're all related to some kind of banking industry. All right, you really need to pay attention that this is where this kind of cash. Banks do not like to have assets. Banks don't like. This is why all those banks are selling outside your door, because they had too many assets. They had too many houses. They didn't want those houses on those books, on their books. They don't want to own all those assets. They just wanted the cash. Okay. Now, if you look at everything else, let's say we look at Microsoft. Microsoft owns Windows. Windows is a program, which is an asset that cannot be duplicated, that they get on the computer, and it's a good asset. Google, you might say, that's not an asset. That's a search engine. Google is an asset in the sense that it branded its search engine to such a point that it's now an asset because people prefer it. Number one, over. They don't have anything tangible. I'm with you. They don't produce a product. But that's why Google is making that Google phone and everything else. They got to keep producing until they find an asset. Right now, they have a brand, and their brand is an asset. Let me give you a good example that me and my brother were talking about today. I know some of you cats remember Fubu, okay? You look at Fubu and you say, during that time, they had a pretty much an asset, but it was a trend, okay? So now Fubu is gone, and they don't have nothing, right? And you would say, what's the difference between that and Google? When Google came out, there were plenty of them. Or let me use another one. Let's use MySpace, because MySpace is on a decline. When MySpace first came out, it had the system on lock. Fox came and bought it, and they had the game on lock. But now MySpace is lost all. Probably going to go under soon. I don't know when, but because Facebook came and they were slacking on the hustle. So if you are in this kind of field where you're building a brand, you're always going to hear people telling you to build your brand, build your brand, build your brand, build your brand. But you got to understand, when you're building the brand, you're building what I like to call a deck of cards, a house of cards. Because everyone knows that the jeans at Calvin Klein are no different than the jeans over at Kmart, except for the brand name that's associated with it. And it's so hard, but I'm not against it. Do what you got to do. It's so hard to maintain a brand, right? Which would turn cash into assets. Once you have a brand, a good brand, it actually starts becoming an asset. The name and the goodwill associated with Calvin Klein. Sean John means quality, or Tommy Hilfiger, or you know what I'm saying, Lotto, or Lotto, Louis Vuitton and Gucci. These are all brands, right? But it took some time for them to make sure you always think when you see that name or you see that their symbol that it means quality, that it became an asset. It took a while. But if you're in that kind of thing, you got to keep up with the trends. You got to keep up. Calvin Klein doesn't make the same Calvin Kleins when I was a kid. You know, they don't make the same pants, but they adjusted. They went through the colored phase when everybody had cross colors. They went through the suede phase. They went through the gaudy big emblems on their thing phase. They went through all these phases because they had to keep up with the trend. If you are building a brand, trying to turn your brand into an asset, that is the game you're in. And we can look back at plenty of people, FUBU, Paco, all these things you probably grew up with, all these cross colors. All these clothes, even Rockaware to a certain degree, right? It's fading away. All these things, Fat Farm, they're all competing to stay relevant because they built a brand with no real assets. What I'm trying to get you to understand, and what I'm going to keep repeating over and over and over and over and over, sit down when you have the time and decide what kind of cat you are. This is going to help you when you start going out into this game. It's going to help you to identify what you really value. When I started the company, I was real young. I was very, very lucky, you know what I'm saying, to really have concentrated on the asset. I still have that asset to this day. I was very lucky to sit down and think about, and I didn't really think about it the way you thought about it, Pot. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm from Compton. We don't have a lot of money. The thing that keeps bringing in me money, I'm holding on to it. You know what I'm saying? Like a pit bull in a vice grip with a gun over it. I mean, I need you to understand that that's the way I'm thinking about. This is the way I'm eating. You understand what I'm saying? So why would I get rid of it? Now, the other cat who was my partner who came into the game trying to get all the cash, I guess he just didn't have that mentality. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to be the last ice cream scooper left, you dig? If 31 flavors left, I'm riding this thing to the end. It's the only thing I got. That's why I value assets. That's why I think most cats who come from the streets or have that kind of background should understand the asset. But when you get it, when you get put on, people tend to give you cash. And if you don't watch it, you're giving away your soul for the cash. You know what I'm saying? You got to really ask yourself, you know what I'm saying, why do you need this much cash? Cash is the ability to buy things. Cash is opportunity. That's what it is. And if you don't go overboard with it, cash is a great thing to have. But cash does not make cash. Cash turned into assets yield more cash. You dig? You have $100,000, you buy $25,000 houses so they can yield you. Everybody pays $1,000 rent, so that's 1,000 times 20 houses, which is 20 G's a month. In 5 months, you made your 100 grand back. That's what cash can do with assets. All right. Have you ever noticed that when the economy gets bad, you ever see how the price of gold goes up? People are taking their cash and dumping it into, you said it with me, buddy, an asset. Right? People are taking their cash and they're putting it in stuff that are undervalued. They're putting it in Ford. I want to throw this in there because we're making good chips on Ford. Y'all not on the hustle. If y'all were with me for a long time, I put Ford out at $1. I think Ford is closing in on $8, almost $9. I've been hanging in there with them because I think it's going to be the sole survivor. I'm not a stock market super guy, but I think it's going to be $30. This is going to be, this is cash turned into cash. More cash, but I put it in the asset, which is the stock market, and into Ford, a piece of their company, which is a stock certificate, and now it's turned into something. But you have to understand, this is why people buy gold. Cash by itself is good. Cash tied into an asset that yields more cash is great. If you're in there and you're thinking about cash by itself, like most cats do, This is why it's hard, and I went to, this is the heart of what I'm going at, because Arthur Pledger on World Domination put something up about a collective, and it got my juices, got my brain running thinking about it, because I said, this is why it's hard to build with cats. This is why it's hard for, if I sit down and give you a blueprint and say, you know, this is what we should do, I know why it's not going to work. It's not your ego, partner. That's one part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's really that you feel uncomfortable having your chips tied up into something that you cannot see will turn into something. You just don't see it. You're not that far of, you know, big picture thinking yet. So instead, you're coming off with the software hustle. I'm gonna build something. I'm gonna make something that's gonna tie in with the Google apps or with iPhone apps, and then we're gonna make money. I'm gonna sell a company. I'm out. Right? But they never thought about, if everybody did this hustle. Let me give you a good example. When Microsoft started, you don't think IBM wanted to buy it? What made him hold on to his company? When Google first started, they had Yahoo as one of their part owners, and even your boy Shaq had a piece of it. You know what I'm saying? Why didn't they sell their company? Right? Because they realized that the asset generated cash. They needed cash to start the asset to generate cash. You dig? And they held on to the asset. This is why you can't build. Don't ever get frustrated with the cats you see, the cats you run into. This is the main reason why you can't build. Because most of these cats who come into this game do not understand, you know what I'm saying, how to buy land. They do not understand economic independence. What they think is economic independence is a whole bunch of cash. Let me give you something to think about. I hope y'all cats don't run into this, but I'm going to tell you, because I wasn't going to call it bleed them dry, because that's what these cats do. They bleed you dry. Let's say you ever get into any kind of trouble. God forbid. Okay, nobody want to get you in any kind of trouble. But you know, let's use OJ. They tried to bleed the cat's cash out of him. He had so much money, they said, we're going to keep going to court over, and he got to hire $1 million lawyers. OJ cash depleting. Now, let's say OJ owned Microsoft. How much can they bleed the cat? He got something that produces cash. This is why I want everybody to kind of steer into an asset business and think in those terms. If you want to look at Frederick Douglass, I think it was 1864, somewhere around there. It's telling cats, you know what I'm saying, you have to be landowners. Assets. You know, he's telling people, free slaves, be a landowner. Build your own schools. You know, control your economic situation. Booker T. Washington, probably similar time, is out there advocating a similar angle, saying at the bottom of religion, at the bottom of politics, at the bottom of all things for our race is economic independence. And that comes from assets. Because they can't bleed a man dry who got a whole blood bank full of hustle. You understand what I'm trying to say? You can't bleed them dry, partner. This is why when I say it's a cash, it's a transition. It's a transition. And don't get me wrong, some of you cats are stockbrokers and you know it's all cash. But when that market came down, you know you're depending on other people to flip. I'm not against cats who have cash. I just want them to move on. This is why you can't build. Building in any situation is the ability of a cat to look out the window and see what is going to be and buying it right now. Buy low and don't sell high, hold high. You dig? You can sit on top. Let me give you an example, because you know I'm always coming with you with the independence angle, because I want y'all to see it. So let's go on back to Little Rock. All four of 3 cats and your boy Freeman. Right? Cat number 1 is gone. He out. Cat number 2 needed some money in his pocket. He out. Cat number 3 said, I'm riding with you as far as I can, but come on, friend. So guess who comes along? MTV or Viacom comes along to your boy Freeman and says, I want to buy BT for $1 billion or whatever. And the cat number 3 says, Freeman, we got to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? It's $1 billion. We ain't never going to make $1 billion. But me being Freeman, me being the cat that I am, I'm thinking if somebody's going to give me $1 billion, I must not be optimizing my hustle up to $1 billion. Right? So I'm not selling. I might make a deal, let's say a joint venture, so we can all share in the dough, but I'm not selling. But my boy Bob Johnson, cat number 3, and I'm not jumping on Bob. This is a cash-oriented cat, okay? I don't want y'all to think I'm disrespecting any black man who made money. I'm not disrespecting him. This is him making the decision. This is the same decision that Russell Simmons make when he sold Fat Farm. Is the same decision that Jay-Z made when he sold Rockaware. Okay? This is cash-oriented cats. They sold their thing to these out of country companies, and they made their millions, hundreds of millions, right? But in the end, Viacom owns BET and VH1 and MTV and Country Music Television. In fact, Viacom, which owns CBS, owns all of the music television stations on your cable satellite dish network, partner. ATTU first, if you cancel you in that. He owns all of that. He owns assets that generate more cash. He gave him $1 billion and said, I'm gonna make more than that when I have it as part of a suite of all my stuff. So guess what he got? He owned the block. When you have assets, you own the block. When you have cash, all you can do is visit the block that the cat who set it up, let you come in there. Come into Freeman's barbershop. Come into Freeman's laundromat. Drop your kids off at Freeman's daycare. Come and get Freeman's chicken. Come and do something at the Freeman's check cashing. I just want you to understand there's a humongous difference between cash and assets. You know what I'm saying? And when you're in the beginning, you really want cash. Nobody at the top has cash like that. Everybody else has an asset, and it generates money. Let's be about that as we move forward. So all you cash cats, and this is when y'all meet me and when we catch up in the future, and y'all will understand why I can't build with you. Because I know you're going to jump off the boat. You understand what I'm saying? Nothing's wrong with the boat. You just saying, man, this is your sights were too low. You didn't see how far I was seeing into the future, and you're jumping off the boat. Keep that in mind as we move forward. There's nothing wrong. Step 1, identify who you are. Are you a cash or asset guy? Step 2, identify the cat across from you as being a cash or asset guy. Step 3, do we have a true asset that yields more cash that will turn around and allow us to take that cash and build our empire? I'm only talking about takeover. I ain't talking about craziness. You know I'm not talking about flashing and showing off. You know I'm not talking about whether I want to be famous. I don't want to have dinner next to the Prime Minister of England. I can care less. I'm really in this so we can build something as we talk. That's what I'm trying to do. This is the difference between what I'm advocating to you on the Rise and Grind and just about every other cat you might hear or read, because they're not talking to you about how to build. They're talking to you about how to show off and have the best Mercedes-Benz or have a Brabus or a V12, and they think all this stuff means money. It don't mean money. It means you a sucker. Let me backtrack that. I'm still calling you a sucker though. Next time, partner.